Today I'm making one of the most beautiful quilts I've ever made using only 2 fabrics and one of them is white. But hey, that's all it takes to create some breathtaking quilty magic, I promise. You do not need yards and yards of fabric or a very complicated pattern. Let me show you how easy it is to make this quilt. So here's my white, and this is the fabric I've picked for today, one of my favorites. But if I'm honest, you could use only solids and this would still look stunning. All it takes is some squares and some strips from both colors. And I'll just cut right to the chase and tell you what the point of this video is. Fabric can be expensive, and while it's a lot of fun to play with it and to look at it at a cabinet filled with options, it's also kind of unnecessary. You do not need to own a cabinet full of fabric to be able to quilt. In fact, I have 2 compartments, and that's it. This is all the fabric I own, aside from my scraps, of course, you've met them before. Don't get me wrong, I love looking at gorgeous sewing rooms, and I would not say no to owning one, and it kind of makes sense considering what I do. And I love to look at pretty fabric. I love owning pretty fabric and being able to look at it and touch it whenever I want. But I've told you from the get-go, I am here to show you that you can still quilt without any of that. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes owning a lot of fabric can give you a little bit of decision paralysis, where you can't really decide which fabrics to use and can't make a decision. Less options means a clearer vision, and that's a great thing, particularly when you don't have a lot of time on your hands. And this is what we have, and these are our measurements. Let's make some more quilt blocks. Now, it would have been pretty easy to prove my point by picking a gorgeous, one-of-a-kind, detailed, hard pattern that would blow your socks off. Even with 2 fabrics, that would have looked stunning. But that is a lot of hard work for me and maybe for you as well. Plus, my point isn't you don't need a lot of fabrics if you pick a difficult pattern. My point is it will look stunning using only 2 fabrics, even if you pick an easy-peasy quilt pattern, like this one. As you can see, we will be doing the exact same block, except they're complete opposites. So where the white is in one block, the pattern fabric is in the other, and vice versa. And this may not look like a lot, just looking at one block at a time, but when it's all put together, it's going to be stunning. Wait and see. I don't think I have to say this, but I will anyway. You can use more than just 2 fabrics for this pattern. It doesn't just work like this. In fact, you can keep the white and use a different fabric for every pattern piece. We're talking different colors, different patterns, whatever you pick, it will still look awesome. In fact, you know what? If you really want to make this a quick and easy project, just get yourself a charm pack. Use the 5-inch squares for the square, cut the squares in half for the strips. For the longer strips, you will need a 5 by 2.inch strip plus a 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares, and you're good to go. And so are we. Look at these. They look cute, simple but cute. Let's improve on that by making some other blocks. We have 9 more blocks to go for each of these fabrics, and you've seen how easy these are to make. As long as you don't mix up your pieces and know exactly which piece goes where, this should be a breeze. One of those free-flow quilting projects I love so much. I will say, spoiler alert, that we will be adding a teeny tiny twist to the whole thing before we're done. It's not going to be only squares stacked up against each other and be done, although that wouldn't look half bad either. In fact, I will show you how that would look in a bit before we move on to the final puzzle. I am aiming to make a baby quilt top, but as always, if you want to make a larger size quilt, all you need to do is keep making these squares until you reach the size you want. There really is nothing to it. Anyone can make one of these. There's not a lot of expertise involved. Now, there's something I need to address while we do this, because some of you occasionally call me out on me saying that this quilt is the most awesome, this quilt is my favorite, this quilt is the best I've ever done, etc, etc. And you're right, I do say it often. But in my defense, I am lucky enough to do something I love that feeds my creativity daily. And as I make these videos and up the ante, so to speak, I keep finding more and more stunning projects to make. So yeah, as it turns out, for the most part, the last quilt I made is my absolute favorite and the best one I've ever made. And I think that's a good thing. As promised, let me show you what this quilt would look like if we just stack these squares up as they are. Pretty, but I think we can do better. So let's turn these squares into diamonds and make them shine. And before you know it, this is what we get, and it is absolutely stunning. Time to sew our puzzle, and diamonds mean sewing diagonal strips before anything else. So let's do that. And as usual, I advise that you take a picture of your puzzle before you start sewing, because as you remove the pieces to sew them, it's very easy to take them off their place, and having this staggered look where no two same blocks meet is essential for the look we're going for. Now we press our strips before anything else, because we need flat seams to nest before we're ready to join these rows together into one awesome, one-of-a-kind quilt that uses only 2 fabrics to shine. Let's press this again before our final step, and this is what we have at the moment. Now, this isn't exactly a rectangle quilt, is it? We need to trim this into a rectangle, but we don't really want to waste any bit of these blocks. So what I want to do is chop these in the upper side and the left side, and then connect them to the right and lower sides, instead of just chopping them off on all corners. Let's see if I can do that. Now, in order to add these where we want them, we need to unpick our seams 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, to make room for these. Now we sew our triangles in place. And we press one final time, and this is what we get. Gorgeous, stunning, awesome. You pick your word and I'll agree, because this is all of that. It's also done with only 2 fabrics and in a jiffy. Thank you for doing this with me, and I will see you pretty soon. Bye bye!